Okay, so literally just finished talking about the Xeno series, which was number 10. Now we're going to go ahead and move on. So just a couple quick things beforehand. Number one, this is my top 10 JRPG series. Not individual games, but I will be talking about the games I have played in these series and just trying to give my overall thoughts on them. I'm not trying to do a full review. Though Xeno was really long, but I was also talking about like 7 or 8 games. We're going to, and full spoilers for any game that I mention, and I'm going to try to make sure I timestamp them, so if you want to go to a specific game, or if you want to avoid spoilers for a specific game, feel free to do so. Number 9 is Final Fantasy. There are a lot of Final Fantasy games. There's a lot of spin-off Final Fantasy games. Excuse me. There's 2 Final Fantasy games I'll shout out real quick that I played but never finished. Excuse me, Final Fantasy 1 that I played the GBA version. It was like the 1+2. I didn't ever really touch 2. I got pretty far into 1, and then I think at one point like I got completely lost and then lost my copy of the game. I had liked what I played. And Final Fantasy X-2, which is honestly the first Final Fantasy game I ever played. I never finished it. There was a point really late into the game where you have to fight these 3 Aeons at once that I just could never beat. I got really close several times. I could just never finish it. I liked the game a lot. I obviously hadn't played 10 yet, so maybe if I were to replay it now that I am both older and have context for the game before it, maybe I'd like it just the same. Maybe I really wouldn't. I don't know how much I would like Yuna. We'll see. And that's kind of all I have to say without getting into the games. So, the Final Fantasy games I have played. This is not the chronological order that I played them in, because I don't remember if I played 6 or 7 first. I think I went 7, 6, 10, 9, but I could be a little wrong about that, but I just have them here. 6. The ones I played are 6, 7, 9, and 10 that I've played to completion. Start with Final Fantasy VI. I love this game. I think it is an all-time great story. I think the sprite work is phenomenal. It is an all-time great soundtrack. I've watched the Pro Jared video, and there's a joke in the video where he'll name like a few songs and go, it's the best song in the game. It's the best song in the game. I'm like, no, that joke is pretty valid. I don't know what my favorite song in the game is. I would probably say it's either Decisive Battle, Terra's theme, which is so Decisive Battle is the boss theme. Terra's theme, which is the overworld theme. I don't think it's the overworld theme to the World of Ruin. I think it's only for the first half of the game. But I might be misremembering. Honestly, the World of Ruin overworld theme is basically just the airship theme. Or Dancing Mad. Fuck, I love Dancing Mad. But actually, no, I think my favorite song in the game is Omen, which is the opening track, because you get like a tiny little bit of Dancing Mad. You also get this one like version of Terra's theme that I really like, and just kind of some other good stuff in there too. I'm kind of proving my point. The OST is so good. I would love a good faith adaptation of Final Fantasy VI. If there is one video game, and like I know there's probably others, but for me, if there's like one game, I would love to see HBO like make a Game of Thrones style adaptation, and let's assume the good season, like when they had books to adapt and could be more faithful and not just like make shit up in whatever the hell the last season was. I would love Final Fantasy VI. I think the story is so good and so interesting, and the characters are so good. Like, my boy Sabin suplexing a train is great. It's funny, and if they're able to put that in the show, they can put that in the show. But seeing his family and saying goodbye to them right after is devastating. You get like the backstory with, I almost said Setzer, but it's not Setzer, it's Edgar. With Edgar and Sabin, and talking about like, all right, we'll flip a coin. If it comes up with this, you be king. If it doesn't, you can do whatever you want and I'll be king. Oh shit, looks like it came up that. Guess you can do whatever you want, dude. And not in like a messed up way where like he's manipulating himself to become king. He's like, I'm doing this in a way to make my brother happy. Is fantastic. Just anytime Kefka is on screen is gold. the Opera House scene is my favorite part of the game. Like, I kept hearing about how good it was. Like, it's this really cool combination of story and gameplay, and it is. It's wonderful. The scene at the start of the World of Ruin with Celis, and like her theme is so pretty. I'm trying not to cry. When that song is playing and she's by herself and she is heavily contemplating suicide, that shit hurt, man. That really, really hurt. I'm not huge on its gameplay. There's a lot of problems I have. Like, if you're trying to escape from battle, everyone runs away at a different speed, so you can have 3 people run, and then your last person dies, which doesn't lead to a game over. It's just like, oh, they're dead now, fuck you. Like, that sucks. Personally, and this is the thing with, like, most, not all Final Fantasy games, I don't like save points. I want to be able to save whenever I want, like, on my time, which I did play it on emulator, so that wasn't a problem I had, but it is a problem with the game if I play it on original hardware. I don't like how slow Magicite is. Oh yeah, like the fact that like when you select a spell, it doesn't automatically go off. I don't mind that because I kind of like that. It takes a while. I think that's okay. Trails does something very similar. What I don't like is that there's no real way to organize your menu. Now, theoretically, you can. You'd be like, all right, I want the offensive spells on top, or like the defensive spells on top. But the list of spells is so large, if you're like, all right, I'm trying to get to this specific spell right now. Because of the ATB system, there were several points where a boss would be attacking me while I was trying to find the right spell for a character, and that's just not fun. I personally found that really, really annoying. Eventually, I had to just change the game from ATB mode to wait mode. And this was near the end of the game, I think, when I had to do it. I think this was either the final dungeon or the halfway point, because it was one of, like, Kefka's towers. I think it might have been the floating island, so it might have been the halfway point. I was like, okay, the game just got a lot more manageable. The fact that I had to literally change the way the battle system ran is not a good thing. Damn near everything else, though, is a great thing. I love Final Fantasy VI. Then we get to Final Fantasy VII, and I will say Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy game. And for me, it's because I don't know if I would say it has a better story than 6, and I don't think its gameplay is as good as 10. But for me, it has the best, like, ratio of great story to really fun game. They looked at Magicite and went, man, this is a cool idea. You know, you get the thing equipped, and the more you have it on, like, the more shit you get, but you can only have one at a time. What if you could have, like, 6 at a time? And that's what Materia is. And man, I love the Materia system. I love how customizable your characters are. Well, we'll get to that when we talk about Trails. But I really liked the character customization. I mean, the battle theme is really good. The boss theme, I don't like it as much as the battle theme, but I think the boss theme is really good. One Winged Angel is fantastic. I prefer Dancing Mad, but One Winged Angel is fantastic. My favorite scene in the game, I can never remember what it's called. It's called, like, Anxiety, I think. It plays at a few points, but I specifically remember it plays in, like, the Ghost Train Yard, I think was the level. Like, I can't remember how it goes off the top of my head, but there's this one part in the song where it gets, from what I remember, like, kind of music boxy or kind of lullaby-ish. And, like, that's my favorite song in the game. It just sounds so good. It's so lovely. Aerith's theme is wonderful. I love that it's a boss theme right after she dies. I think that's really interesting. Let's talk about it. The scene where she dies, it's The most famous scene in the game. It's probably the most famous scene in the series. Oh, I also didn't really talk about that bit in Final Fantasy VI. So just that bit at the end of the opening of like the 3 robots walking through the snow as that version of Terra's theme plays. I love it. It's such a cool image to me. But Aerith's, that is the most famous scene in the game. To me, it's like the Goku turning Super Saiyan moment of JRPGs. Not to say that is the most influential scene, because of most RPGs I've played don't kill off party members permanently and then not replace them. But it's just, to me, this is the signature scene of this genre. People remember this. People who haven't played Final Fantasy VII know about this scene. It's that impactful. And playing it, I was like, okay, I know she's gonna die, like, whatever. And she is still my favorite character. I couldn't help but get attached to her. What I love about her character was my understanding going in was like, okay, Cloud is the super loner, emo, doesn't emote much, woe is me kind of bullshit. Tifa is probably just more like unga bunga, talks a lot of shit. And Aerith is just, she's just the sweetest, most pure soul. And none of that was correct. Cloud is a dork. He is also this fundamentally broken person. And once you get into the life stream and you understand that and how much of Cloud's memories aren't his, and even Cloud doesn't really know who Cloud is, holy crap, that's so interesting. And Tifa is not the like super unga bunga one. She's actually really the more girly of the two, and she's the one who's very sweet. I've often seen it portrayed as like, oh, it's this very intense love triangle. She and Aerith hate each other, and she weeps when Aerith dies. Like, it is heartbreaking. Everyone's reaction. Cait Sith might actually be my favorite. Where Cait Sith is, like doing this little dance, like trying to cheer Cloud up, and it doesn't work. And then he just kind of slinks off, realizing it's like, I can't help, turns to look back, and then keeps going. Aerith was not like the most like pure sweetheart soul. She talks so much shit constantly the entire game. She is so funny. The whole like Don Corneo thing when they have to dress Cloud up as a girl. So when they're talking to Tifa, who doesn't know about it, Aerith's like, hey, I have a question for you. Like, what do you think of Cloud? What does he mean to you? And she's like, oh yeah, it's nothing. It's, it's kind of fine. And Aerith just starts laughing, and she's like, oh, poor Cloud has to hear both of us call him nothing. It's like, it's so savage. It's so funny. And I know there were other moments like that. I don't quite remember what they were, but like consistently, she was hilarious. I like the other characters a lot. Sid is a real piece of shit. And then when you get his backstory, I'm like, I get it. But man, you are an asshole to his wife, his girlfriend, assistant. I don't super remember what the relationship was. It was like, I understand the frustration, but what the hell, dude? I like Barrett a lot. Shit, what's his name? It's the guy, Reeve. That was it. I was like, I wanted to call him Reen. I'm like, that's Schwarzer. We're not in Cold Steel yet. I like Reeve a lot. One of my favorite moments in the game, Aerith is my favorite, and then we'll get to the ending in a second. I love the scene when Barrett is like talking to Reeve. He's like, you're a piece of shit. You work for the Shinra, because it played the PS1 version. I played it on the Switch, but it's the Shinra. It makes me laugh every time. Also, I'm sorry, I just remembered Palmer. The fucking Palmer was so funny. Oh, it's gold, dude. I love it. Anyways, point. He's calling Reeve this horrible person because he works for the Shinra and all the terrible things that the company has done. And Reeve turns it around and says, do you remember when you blew up the the eco reactor? Do you understand how many people you killed when you did that? It's the way he phrases it after, because I believe he says something to the effect of, do you know how many heiresses you took that day? And Barrett, someone who is very opinionated, will not hesitate to talk shit, says nothing. No, I think he does. He says something, but you can feel the bite isn't there anymore, and it's not like, yeah, but I did it, I'm justified. It's more just kind of a, I mean, but fuck, he's right. And I think it's great. Also, shout out to that scene when Barrett is in a sailor suit. It's so funny. And I think the funniest scene in the game, because despite Final Fantasy VII's reputation, the game is hilarious, is when you're on that boat and there's this dude doing this like weird little shuffle, and I'm like, what is going on? And I talk to him and he goes, Cloud, it's me, Red 13. I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny. I have not played the remake trilogy, but I saw what they did with Red 13, where he's like walking like that. This is the Final Fantasy VII I know. That's gold. I absolutely love that. I do want to talk about the ending. What I love about the ending is its ambiguity. The characters realize the only way to stop Sephiroth and Meteor, and I will go and say real quick, I think Sephiroth as an antagonist is like fine to me, and I feel like it's been confirmed by like the creators of what I was like, no, it really is Sephiroth, and the gajillion sequels and spin-offs and blah 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 bullshit. To me, playing through just the original game, the main antagonist is Jenova. Sephiroth doesn't change his ways until he's in vicinity of Jenova. When he kills Aerith, it turns into Jenova. To me, Jenova is basically the thing, and it took over Sephiroth. And this is her meat puppet. And I find that really interesting. But anyways, the only way to stop Jenova from casting Meteor, like fucking up the planet and like slurping burning down the life stream, is we need to cast Holy. And letting the planet cast Holy is basically giving it free reign. It'll wipe out the Meteor, it'll wipe out Sephiroth. It'll wipe out whatever it needs to. That includes us. And you know what? Maybe it will. And you know what? Maybe it should. Look at what we as humans have done to the world. Maybe we don't deserve to be here. But the planet does. And regardless of what the planet thinks of me, I am going to fight like hell to protect it. And as Holy goes off and everything is like encased in white, and you know the main characters are all like caught up in the explosion, the last thing that appears on screen is this picture of Aerith, just like sitting there praying and smiling, which to me tells me everything I need to know about what happened. Yes, Holy went off. It destroyed Sephiroth. It destroyed Meteor. It probably took care of some undesirables. There's no way Rufus Shinra survived getting nuked by Godzilla, and there's no way the planet let him survive Holy either. The one shot of Aerith at the end just tells me, you guys are good. I put in a good word for humanity. You're going to live. And then you see, I don't remember how many years later that, you know, like Midgar is encased in like vegetation and it's been overrun, and Red 13 is still around because he's not human, as people got to make it unambiguously. I was like, yeah, I think eventually maybe humans did die out or they left Midgar, but I think humanity survived. And I love the ambiguity of the ending. I love my interpretation of the ending. And that's why I have no interest in watching Advent Children. I don't care. I really don't. Like, I got everything I needed right here. The only thing more I need is Cloud and Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts. That's, look, I gotta keep it right there. You can bet Kingdom Hearts is gonna be somewhere pretty high on the list. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I think the game is great, dude. So talking about Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy IX is a game where for like the first third, 2/3, or like third and a half or so, I thought was amazing. I still had gameplay issues because the game is really, really slow. I think I was actually playing it on original hardware. And I was like, it's slow, but I like the story. So here's the thing. I love Vivi. Vivi might be my favorite character in the series. And I love the cast of 6. I love Cloud. I love Aeris. But like, I love everything about Vivi. He is just a perfect, precious boy. I also really like Garnet. Garnet's story of I am the princess, and that means I have a responsibility, and I'm not doing a good job of that. And I can tell that there's something wrong with my mother. And as the princess, I need to fix it, I think is really interesting. And the idea of this, like, magic arms dealer in Kuja being an anti... Like, what are the arms that he deals in? He deals in summons. Oh, that's so cool. Like, there's so many cool ideas in this game. Freya's story, I think, is really interesting. And, like, her relationship with... I don't remember the name, but of her, like, lover who has now forgotten her and her having to deal with that. And then you have Steiner, who is Garnet's #1 stooge. And his distrust of everyone else, but slowly but surely letting that guard down and letting them in. There's so much, like, there's a lot of really good stuff here. I just don't like the third act. Pretty much everything with like, okay, so here's what's really going on. So I talked about it in my video of the game. Zidane is a Saiyan. And it's like, okay, so I made the Saiyan race, and you were little blonde-haired monkey boy. We're supposed to go down and conquer the earth, but you bonked your head because Kuja did it wrong on purpose, and you forgot everything, and you're supposed to be this conqueror and destroy the world, but you ain't doing your job, and blah, blah, blah. And then Zidane's like, oh no, everything I thought I knew about myself is wrong, and now I hate myself, and now I kind of hate everybody, and it just didn't click for me. It really didn't. I have heard people talk about that you are not alone scene. Like, I know Clay loves Final Fantasy IX. He's like, this is my favorite part of the game. It's one of my favorite parts in any game. I'm like, it just didn't click for me. Like, I get it. Zidane just kind of went through a lot. It's a lot to process. I don't like the way he's treating his friends. Because even, like, me personally, it's like when I've been low and not okay, I've still treated the people in my life right. I was like, no. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember saying out loud, it's like, you don't get to talk to Vivi that way. Like, I know I'm supposed to be really sympathetic toward you right now, but bro, I'm just not when you're like this. And again, I was like, this is what we're doing with the story now? Okay. I guess it's fine. It still fits in with the theme, because like, to me the big theme of the game is, especially with the black mages and Vivi, is like, use your time. Like, if you have life, use it, live it, experience it. That's why Kuja is such a problem, is he's like, I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm gonna make it everybody's problem. Like, it works thematically. It's not like it's the worst thing, but I think I talked about this as well when I've talked about Tales of Arise, is when you have an RPG story and it's like, this is what we're doing, we're about like the politics of this world, like the region and blah, 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 blah. And it's so interesting and I'm so invested. And then when we get to the third act, we're like, yeah, we're actually doing something completely different now. It doesn't usually work for me. Worm is a great example of it working. Like, everything, like, once you get to Zion and you understand what is going on, I think it's amazing. it didn't work for me here. And yeah, it's like, I thought the game was real. Like, it's fun, but it's so mind-numbingly slow and sluggish. The thing... Let me say it like this. I did cry at the end of the game. As, like, Zidane and Garnet being reunited, and the song playing at the end, and, like, showing all these moments. Like, I cried. It's a beautiful ending. I will never forgive what happened to Vivi. Not the fact that he died. Because I knew it was going to happen. Even before I played the game, I'm like, the way people talk about Vivi and his story, I don't know the specifics. I have a feeling he's going to die. And then once I started playing the game, I was like, oh, there's a time limit, and we don't know the time limit. Vivi is going to die. I am going to lose my darling baby boy. I'm not going to be okay. I am going to cry. I am going to bawl. I am going to weep. I will not be okay. But the game has been setting it up so well that I'm ready. I want you to hit me with your best shot. And I know it's going to knock me out. I know I'm going to take it. But I want to. You don't see Vivi die. It is off screen where he like writes a note to his friends. And I felt so unsatisfied. It's like I have been waiting this entire game for this knockout, standout moment. And you denied me my sorrow. Now, he still died, and it was still very sad that it happened. But it felt so unsatisfying the way it went down, which is just how I felt for, like, the entire third act. Like I was mentioning Freya a bit ago. I was like, man, this story with her is so interesting. I can't wait to see more of it. I mean, I guess we kind of do, but, man, it's really underbaked. And I know a lot of people love Final Fantasy IX. I've heard a lot of people, Clay included, say, this is my favorite. This is the best one. It just didn't do it for me by the end. I'm really sorry to say that. Then we get to Final Fantasy X. 10 is fun. I think 10 is by far the most fun game in the series from what I have played. I love that every member in the party has, like, this is my very specific role. Wakka, I got the ball, I hit the flying enemies. Lulu, I do magic, I hit anything with, like, an elemental weakness. Auron, I hit the ones that are really tanky. Reggie, his name is Titus. I named him Reggie. I don't know why. I think I had, like, Reggie Fils-Aimé on the brain, so I just named him that. So I'm going to be calling him that for most of this. Reggie's like, I'm the agile one. I hit the really fast ones. Riku, I can steal, which means I can instantly kill robots. Kimari is Ronso. He is also there. And the only one I'm missing is Yuno. It's like, I don't know, I'm the summoner. I just do cool shit. I love the way the party feels gameplay-wise. And the sphere grid and the sheer customizability. I ended the game with Lulu and Yuna double casting Ultima every turn to beat the final boss. I mean, Jet, the final boss, like, you haven't thing, I don't remember what I did, it is what it is. I'm like, this is really fun to play. I also like the world of Shinra. I like getting to learn more about it and about its culture, like Blitzball. I didn't really like playing Blitzball, but I like the idea of Blitzball and the... What is the sign? Is like that for Yevon or something? I don't remember, but the whole Yevon religion I found really interesting. I remember when I got to Yunalesca and like heard her story thinking, why weren't you the main antagonist instead of Seymour? I mean, you make an argument that Jet is not the main antagonist. He's just more the final boss. He has a big impact over his son, but he's not like a villain throughout the game. that's Seymour. Sin is really the main it's more like a story against the force of nature. But he's your human antagonist, and by the end of the game, they're giving him the Owl House treatment of the, oh no, not you, rather than him being an actual threat. Which bothers me. Like, I just didn't like Seymour. I remember the first time I saw him, I was like, he is wearing a Hugh Hefner pimp coat. What is this? What is this design? What is this outfit? What is he doing with his hair? What? And I just never found him that interesting. I think the cast is, like, alright. Like, Riku's fine. Waka's an asshole. Gets better. Kimari is Ronso, and he's there. I like Orin. Orin is cool as hell. Yuna is a really good and interesting character. Honestly, I think Reggie gets a lot of flack. I've heard so many people like, I hate him, he's annoying, and honestly, I think he's a pretty interesting dude. A lot of that is the relationship with his dad and how that has affected him and the ways that you see it throughout the game. Yes, people make fun of the laughing scene. You can tell if someone has actually played the game or not. Because, like, yeah, out of context, it's really weird and really awkward. And in context, it's awkward in the best kind of way. It's great. I don't super remember a lot of the music. I remember the battle theme being really good. There's the Albed, I'm annoying, ha! I'm annoying, ha! I'm like, yeah, you are. Please shut up. This is awful. And then you have 2 Xanarkand, which is just wonderful, and it's beautiful. I just remember Jet's theme, like, I'm fuck, I can't remember. It's this, like, it goes really hard. It's kind of wild, but fuck, I love 2 Xanarkand. It's so good. I think the way the story is told is kind of jank. Like, a lot of the basics, like, all right, you know, Sin, you gotta do this, you gotta go on the journey, and the Chosen's gonna die at the end. Like, look, I played Symphonia, I get it. I think the people who made Symphonia played you. Actually, I don't remember which one came out first. I can actually check real quick. I want to say Final Fantasy X came out first, but let's check. FFX came out in 2001, but let's see the month. I mean, if they came out in the same year, there's no way they would have been able to play each other. Let's see. It came out in July 19th, 2001. When did Symphonia came out? I want to say Symphonia came out in, like, 2002. Let's see. So we're trying to beat June 2001. It came out in August of 2003. So, I mean, I doubt they developed the entire game in, like, 2 years, but they're very similar. There's a non-zero chance it maybe had some kind of influence on Symphonia. I feel like a lot of the specifics are, like, the execution is different, but a lot of the main ideas feel very similar. Spoiler alert, I think Symphonia does it way better. I think 10 is kind of jank. But I still find its main cast, like its real main cast, like Reggie and Yuna, endearing enough, and the game so dang fun that I can overlook and forgive some of those issues. Here, I'm just gonna plug in my computer and my notes real quick. But I just kind of wanted to say, the reason I have it over the Xeno series is, for me, it was mostly me kind of sneaking in Saga to talk about it a little bit. It's mostly Blade. I don't like playing the first Xenoblade game, and like I had even said, to me, none of the Xenoblade games have a completely satisfying story throughout the whole thing. Most of them, it's like two of the 3 acts are phenomenal, and then one of them is like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. I can't say that about Final Fantasy VII. I can't say that about Final Fantasy VI. It has its gameplay problems, but even my beloved Xenoblade 2 has that. And Xenoblade 1, I think, is just ass to play. Of the games I have played, I think for me, as much as I hate to say it, 9 kind of brings down the curve for Final Fantasy, which is why it's maybe not a little bit higher with games like 6 and 7. And 10, 10 doesn't really bring down the curve, but because of my problems with it, it doesn't raise it a lot higher either. So that's where I am with number 9. Now let's move on to number 8. These are the Lunar games. I feel a little bit weird putting Lunar as a series ahead of something like Final Fantasy or even the Xeno games. But here's the thing. If you've watched either of my videos on the 2 Lunar games, and thank you so much if you have, you know how much I love and adore those 2 from like the depths of my soul. What I love about Lunar 1 is it's a fairy tale. It feels, I think the way I described it is, it feels like a child wrote the idea of the story. Yeah, you know, it's about a boy who goes on a journey to become the Dragon Master, and he's got to go fight dragons, and then he gets the dragon's powers, but his best friend from childhood, who's like his girlfriend, but not really, but is gonna be, turns out that she's God, and she's the goddess, but there's an evil emperor, and then the evil emperor of darkness takes the goddess, and the Dragon Master has to go save her from the forces of evil, and the power of love is something that helps throughout the game. It's a fairy tale, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's very simple, it's very charming. But if a child wrote the story, a very cynical, mean-spirited adult wrote everything in between. This game is so funny. It's so mean. And a lot of it is not just like the main plot and dialogue, although that does come through. It's all the side shit. Like, I remember like walking in a house and just kind of looking at stuff, and I find this woman's diary, and she's like, oh yeah, so I've been cheating on my husband, you know, with this guy, and then this guy, and then this guy. And like, this is so bad. There's the one where you talk to this dude, and he's like, yeah, you know, after my grandpa died, my grandma was all alone, and I felt so bad for her. So I moved her from her hometown, and I brought her here, and now she's living with me, and now she's got someone around her, and I know she's a little bit cranky, but I think she's going to be happier in the long run. And then you talk to grandma, and she's like, I hate my stupid grandson so much. That son of a bitch took me from the place I loved, moved me. Now I live here. I don't know anybody. I don't want to be here. I just want to go home. This dummy. It's so mean, but it's so funny. I'm impressed they managed to nail anything that wasn't related to that. When you get to the town of the inbred Hicks, and it's not even just like oh yeah, you know, they make a few jokes about them being kind of backwoods, so they make some like redneck jokes. No, they're actually inbred. Because there is this one line where it's like, you know, cousin or no, I ain't gonna appreciate no two-timing man. And then there's like one dude who's talking to, is it Mia? I think it's Mia. And I don't remember the exact line. I think it's like, hey, you know, you might not be my cousin, but you sure are pretty. And then Nat's like, get away from here, you genetically deficient leech. That is actual dialogue. Genetically deficient leech is so funny to me. You have all the different ways that people are calling Ramus fat. I think at one point they're like, yeah, like I can hear his clogged arteries as he runs. Just Null constantly talks shit to him. Ramus was constantly talking shit to Null. Any interaction between Jessica and Kyle is just great. It's so funny. And the clashing tone between the childlike innocence of the story and then just the actual meanness of the script made it it really left an impression on me. In terms of the gameplay, I think it's fine. It has that old PS1 voice acting, which is super jank, and I loved it. Althea, lend me your power! I remember at one point Jose's like, I have heard that voice line like 200 times and I hate it. I'm like, I'm sorry. I kind of love it every time. Like, I'm gushing about it. There were problems when I played it. Like, is the story the most interesting? No. Are there problems with the gameplay? Yeah, there were things that bothered me. But I genuinely love and adore the experience of this game so much that I kind of don't care. And then you get the sequel. Then you get Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. And kind of like what I was saying about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where it's like this, I just wanted to be able to talk about this game because I don't know if it would really be on a list of 10 individual RPGs that I love. But I'm going to do this so I can talk about it. Eternal Blue is kind of the same. I think this game is incredible. I don't think it's quite as funny as the first game, but it's still quite funny. I know, like, Ronfar has some really good lines. Lamina is hilarious. Just this greedy gremlin. I think it's great. There is this underlying theme of forgiveness, which I think is really interesting because it's portrayed as like growth and change. Like, you know, like a person can change, a person can get better, you know, we can grow as people. And a lot of times when we do, we're able to forgive people who have hurt us. You know, you've got Jade and the person that kidnapped her and like brainwashed her and did this to a whole lot of other people that she like hates and is able to forgive him and let him go. Lamina to, I don't even remember his name, but like the fat bastard, because that's basically what she refers to him as, who like took over, what was it? Vane. That was it. Who like took over Vane, the Magic City, and is like ruining the guild and everything. And she hates this dude and is able to forgive him. You have Ronfar, who is able to forgive himself. And Leo, to another extent, is also kind of able to forgive himself. He's like, hey, like I was following the church's directive, and I don't think we're actually doing the right thing. I need to fix this. And I feel like, and again, like, are these the best written characters and character arcs I've ever seen? No. But they're good. I think they're all consistently good, consistently likable. And I found it all really endearing. Again, you've also got the jank PS1 voice lines. My favorite, which you only hear for a little bit, it's Grandpa Gwyn. I think it's the, we've got to keep our strength up, whenever he heals. I'm like, I'm so mad he is not a more permanent party member, because I loved hearing that. I heard a lot of, Lady Luck, be kind. Ronfar's a gambler. I loved using his gambling abilities. They were so fun. But on top of all of that, the things that, for me, elevate Eternal Blue from, this is a good RPG, I liked it, I liked the cast, I liked how funny it could be, into, oh, this is why it is one of my favorites. There's two. Number one, it's the connections to the first game. Because it's a sequel, but it's like a distant hundreds, not thousands of years later kind of sequel. And it manifests in two ways. Number one is Null. He is the only character that is still around from the first game. Kind of. Like, there's Luna and Althea, which we'll talk about in a second. Anytime you hear Null talk about his friends and how he's the only one left. He's the only one. Like, people remember Alex the Dragon Master, but they remember the name more than anything. He's the only one to actually know him. They all left their impact and their legacies, but he's the one really carrying their memory, and it's hard. I liked that a lot. And there's also the ending when you get Luna / Althea talking to Lucia. And I remember listening to it and thinking, if I hadn't played the first game, because you really don't need to play the first game to play Eternal Blue. It's like, if I hadn't played the first game, I think that this was good. This like this scene in particular, it's like this is good. This is interesting. I think it works. Having played the first game, I'm barely keeping it together. This is beautiful. It's so good. So that's the first thing. The second thing for me that really elevates Eternal Blue is Lucia. What I find so interesting is you have this party member who's not really a party member. She is an NPC. You can never control her. And she helps. Like, she can do damage. I think she can heal. She can also just leave. And for a lot of the game, she's just there in the party. Again, like, she'll do stuff, but she's unreliable because she doesn't care about you. She doesn't care about Hero or Ronfar or Jade or Lamina or Leo. They're just people. And if she does what she, like her mission, and does what she's supposed to do, they're just gonna die anyways. Why get attached? And as the game goes on, I remember it's specifically like the Snow Temple or like city, whatever. I don't remember the specifics of what happened. But that's the point in the game where she really starts to care. And then as the game progresses, while she's still this uncontrollable like member in the party, she becomes a lot more actively helpful. And it's not like, yeah, I'm going to spend some turns like leaving or just walking around and not caring. It's like, no, I'm helping. Because now I do care. And actually seeing that story and character progression in the gameplay, I think is so cool and so clever. And when you get to the end of the game, and she's like, this is my mission. But I can't do it anymore because I don't think it's right. I really liked it. And then when you're fighting, what was his name? Zophar, I think. Which, if it just sounds like the most like generic name for an evil thing. Like, Zophar! Yeah! And how far she is willing to go to protect humanity shows how much she has truly grown. Like I kind of said, as like for the others, like these aren't like the best character arcs I've ever seen, but they work. Lucia is one that I genuinely love. And then at the end of the game, when she's like, okay, I'm going back like to my world and my planet, and I'm going back alone, and she leaves Hero, I cried. Like I just straight up cried. And then you do the post game, which is Hero getting the crew back together. He's like, all right, guys, I'm going back. Like, I'm going to follow her because I love her and I care about her. And I know I will never see any of you again. I know that if I do this, I am never coming back home. I am throwing away my friends, my family, my world. But I will do it for the woman I love. And all of his friends say, I got you. We're going to do this for you. I think it's beautiful. I think the first game is, again, it is this fairy tale about like the power of love and how love conquers all. Like, yeah, it's sweet. It's kind of naive, but I like it. Eternal Blue is actually a story about love and how love can change a person. And how far, line from Courage of the things I do for love. That's really what Eternal Blue is. That's why, to me, it's so good. Also, if you've never had a chance to hear the boss theme, specifically the Sega Saturn version, like, I played the PS1 version, and it's really good. And I heard the Saturn version and just went, this is clean as fuck. Yeah, we're at 49 minutes. We got 2 series done. I think I will cut it here. So we're going to end on number 8. And the next one, we're going to start with series number 7.